All right, Keith Keller, you were on Driven to Ride. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Doing well. Thanks for being here with us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Taking some time away from the making some customs down in the Cayman Islands, so we appreciate it. So let's just start from the beginning. What would most people know you for, in your own words? What is maybe your claim to fame?
I guess it would have to be motorcycles and Harley Davidsons here on the island.
Okay, and when you say the island, what island are we referring to?
The Grand Cayman Islands, Cayman Islands.
Okay, and can you describe where Grand Cayman is kind of in relation to the U.S.?
We're south of Florida and just past Cuba. So there's Florida, Cuba, and then Grand Cayman.
Okay. Yeah, it is a beautiful spot, and I guess I should do some full disclosure here. I met you when I was down in the Cayman Islands about 3 months ago on a great trip. You gave us a great tour of the island, had a great Harley to ride on. It was a fun time, so that's how we got connected. And I was fascinated that there was even a Harley custom shop in the Cayman Islands, because you're the only one, right?
I'm the only one. The only one.
So I know you are from the U.S., so let's just start there. How did you get into motorcycling to begin with?
Probably close to 8 years old. My parents got me a Honda 50, and I love that bike, man. We took it everywhere. We used to go from California to Utah a lot, and that bike always traveled with us.
Really?
Yeah.
So just like stuck it on the back of a pickup truck? Or?
Yeah, that was it.
Nice. So you were riding around in like fields and stuff, or around the neighborhood?
No, just up in the mountains in the fields, on the dirt roads.
Okay. And you said where are you from originally then?
I was born in California, but I grew up in Colorado.
Okay. So yeah, you probably, between those two, you were lousy with amazing places to go ride.
Absolutely.
Did your dad or parents family ride? Is that kind of how that started?
No,
really?
My parents didn't ride. It wasn't until, I'm going to say, just after high school, or mid high school, is when my dad started riding. When I was riding, I was already riding, so he got a bike and started riding.
Okay.
But yeah,
and it just went from there.
That's it.
Man, that's cool. So when you got on the bike and you started riding, you threw a leg over it, did you kind of know you were hooked from the start, or?
Oh yeah, that was the end of that.
Really?
I couldn't get off the bike. And it was funny because this bike was the vein of my family, because I wouldn't let my sister ride it. When people came over, my dad would be like, yeah, let him ride the bike. I'm like, no, not going to happen. I was feisty when I was younger.
Sure. Well, and that, I think being protective of a motorcycle is a good thing sometimes. So.
Yeah, it is. And
it's kind of interesting because you've pulled a 180 and you let people just ride your custom motorcycles all over Grand Cayman. So
that's true.
So when did you had a mini bike and you graduated right to a Harley, or was there some kind of in between?
No, there was. I've got from the Honda 50 to a Kawasaki Vulcan, and then to a Harley.
Okay. What was your first Harley?
It was a Fat Boy.
Okay. And what was it about Harleys that kind of captured your attention?
It's just the sound. It's the whole, I don't know, the mystique of a Harley. It's just cool.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things.
Yeah, no arguments there. So, well, and again, we've kind of alluded to it a couple times that you're big into the custom scene. How'd you get into the custom scene?
It's one of those things where you have a Harley, and then other guys have Harleys, and they all kind of look the same. So then it's like, you know what, we're going to change this, and then everybody's like, hey, let's change this on mine, let's change this, and it kind of just gets to a point where you personalize the bike to fit how you feel, I guess, what you like.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. But it's interesting because I think a lot of people maybe change out mirrors or hand grips or, throw some new wheels on it or whatever. But it seems like you do everything almost from the ground up, right?
We do. I built 2 bikes now from the ground up. We buy the frames, we buy the motor, stuff like that. But I put together what I want, what tins I want, the color scheme, all that, and make it to where it's fantastic looking bike.
Yeah. Do you go in with the 2 times that you've done that, do you go in with an idea in your head, or is it just kind of, do you wing it?
No, I have an idea in my head, especially for the first one. Everybody's like, "Oh, you can't build a bike. You can't." So the whole bike, I call it "get the point." Get the point. I can do it because everything on my bike comes to the point where people don't even like to wash it because they get cut.
So like, yeah, the bar ends come to like everything's sharp kind of, right?
Yeah, everything comes to a point. Everything comes to a point.
Hopefully they got it from there.
Yeah, they did actually.
Tell me about your second bike a little bit.
Second bike I built, it was one of these things where I was building it to sell it, and then I just fell in love with it. So I keep it, and I use that one primarily as my ride for the tours.
Okay. And how many bikes do you own now? Because you said you've built two from the ground up. I can't imagine that's the only two.
No. I have 9 bikes that I have for the tour, and I'm building 2 more Harleys, but they're going to be really custom because one is a Springer Softail frame with a Sportster engine in it, and the other one is a Sportster with a wide big back tire and a Springer front end. So I'm getting those ready to build now. They've been kind of on the back burner, but I'm hoping I'm going to get to them soon.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you got no shortage of projects, which sounds pretty cool, man.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. It just, when you start building, it's one of these things when you start on a project, you want to keep going on it, but the shop is so busy with other work that I have to put stuff aside for a while, and then it's kind of lazy getting back to it. But these 2 bikes I want to get done this year, at least one of them this year.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a couple of great additions. One of the things that I noticed is that each bike you own is significantly different. I mean, obviously, I think most, if not all of them, are Harley Davidsons, but they each like really have their own personality.
They do. That was one of the things, is that I wanted all the bikes, even though the majority of them are Softails, I wanted them all to have a different feel to them, right? So I got some that, for taller people, I'll put on because the handlebars come forward. The forward controls are a little bit out there. Then I don't have anything with mid controls, but I have the ones that are, the handlebars come back. So it's just a different seating position for the size of the people that are going to be riding it. So I try and make a bunch of different bikes that can move to fit different people. Since I don't know them until they come to my shop, I have no clue. So it's like, okay, you can fit on this one. This will work.
Yeah, no, that's smart, because then, you can kind of tailor make the ride to the person. But I imagine you probably can enjoy all of them as well. So.
Oh, I do. Absolutely. I get on them and it's like, oh, this one's ride's really nice. I like this bike. Then again, oh, this one's even better.
Yeah. Tough problem to have. You got to pick which bike to go.
Exactly.
Choose to go to work in the morning. But, well, let's go back a little bit again. What kind of brought you down to the Cayman Islands?
Scuba diving.
Okay.
Scuba diving. It was one of these things where, again, I was born in California, went to junior high in California. My best buddy, he was from a divorced family, and that worked to his benefit because his mom would buy him everything, right? And one day we were just sitting on Malibu Beach, and these 2 guys came out of the water in scuba gear, and I'm like, dude, I want to do that. All right. And his mom signed us up for some tri diving, and we went there and we did that. And they said that she couldn't sign up for the course for me, that I have to get my parents. And I took the stuff back, and I was so excited. I'm like, Mom, Dad, this is what I want to do. Not a chance. You will never, ever be scuba diving.
Really?
I'm like, wow. And I didn't. But it was funny because I grew up that way. It's everything that he wanted, I wanted, but I always get something different. Like he wanted to learn to play the guitar, right? So his mom bought him a nice amp, the foot pedals, a nice guitar, all that. And I'm like, Mom, Dad, I want to learn to play the guitar, right? And I walked into the house, and there's this dude with a box. And I'm like, what is this? And he's like, oh, I'm your music teacher. And you open that box, and there was what the hell is it called?
Like an acoustic guitar? Or?
No. The box that you go,
Oh, like a steel guitar or something?
No, it wasn't a guitar. Accordion. Accordion, that was it.
Oh my God.
I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Wow.
I'm not learning how to play the accordion. So anyways, that was it. And then when I got older and we moved to Colorado, I left the house pretty young, and the guy a few towns over, he was doing scuba lessons.
Okay.
And I signed myself up and I dove with him for a while. And then I went out to California again to the college they had because I really wanted to get a career in diving, and signed up with a company here in Grand Cayman and came on down, and I was with them for 6 years. And then I started my own company. I had that for 12 years.
Wow.
Then I went back into the bike stuff full time.
Okay. So had you been riding that entire time, or did you kind of,
Yeah, well, the first, so I got here in 1988, and there was a moratorium where you couldn't get anything over 125 cc.
Really?
Then in 92, a bunch of us got together and went to government and said, listen, this is ridiculous. Let's bring some big bikes back, And it took about 6 months, but they finally got it legal to bring big bikes back. So we got that done. Had quite a few problems with that, not with the Harley people, but with the sport bike people, because they didn't really have anything set up for these big bikes. In the first year, we had, I think it was 8 people that died on bikes. Jeez. And they wanted to shut it right down. And it was like, no, listen, you just got to come up with some sort of a program. So they did the British way, where you have to get a 125 and ride that for 2 years before you can move up to a bigger bike. And it was just a lot of people riding around with no license, no insurance. And that's how Simmer was built, kind of founded from that. So
you've kind of been involved in the Cayman motorcycle scene since you got down there.
I have. It's one of those things where, I'm trying to get the community all together, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It really is hard. Some people ride to work, so they don't want to ride on the weekends or with a group. There's some groups that, we only want to ride with sport bikes. We only want to ride with this bike, this nationality, this. So it's very cliquey as far as that goes. But, we get together and we do stuff for the island as far as charity work. So we do we do Toys for Tots every year. So we put out probably about 12 to 1,500 toys to kids every year.
Oh, wow.
And then we do Wheels for Meals, which we started out with the Meals on Wheels program. But then we noticed that it's not diverse. They wanted to nitpick the stuff that we got, where we're asking the community to donate. So it's like, we'd put a list, but they're going to give us whatever they want. So we started doing the food bank, and the food bank works really, really well, because now you've got all kinds of age groups, families, stuff like that. So we've been doing that with them for a few years now. So it's worked out really nice.
Cool. Yeah. Tell me what SIMRA stands for, and then kind of how you got involved with it. And it sounds like you kind of almost were a founding member.
I was the founding father. It's the Cayman Island Motorcycle Riders Association. The problem is that, they look at bikes differently here. They think that everybody that rides a bike is a gangster. Right? It's just, so there was no way of calling it a club and getting away with that, because it would just be so much problems.
The connotation of a motorcycle club was, yeah.
So I decided, you know what, I'm going to start the Cayman Island Motorcycle Riders Association. So it's an association of riders, and we do things for the community, and we do things for the island itself. And at the same time, trying to build a community of riders. I've been to the police. I sit down and talk with the police, the National Road Authority, all these people that trying to make things better for the biking community as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because let's kind of set the scene a little bit. I mean, the Cayman Islands and the Cayman Islands as a country is not very big. It's only 85,000 people.
Yeah, probably about that.
Yeah, and I mean, so on your tour, and we'll talk about more about the tour in a minute, but we did, I think, about 85 miles, and we saw the whole island. So it's not a large geographic place to ride.
No, it's not. It's not big at all. But I mean, you put close to 90 miles on the tour, right? Mm-hmm. So but you see the whole island.
Yeah. But there's really not, like you said, these big sport bikes or whatever. You're not really a ton of spots to really wind those out and stretch their legs or whatever. So, it's probably more dangerous, I would say, there on a big sport bike than back in the U.S.
That's true. There's, like when we went out on the East End, there's a long stretch of road, and they like to go out there and play. But rest of the time, it's all kind of slow cruising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what I thought that the the Harleys were perfect for. I mean, you can maneuver them through downtown Georgetown, no problem. But then you can kind of open them up a little bit out on that East End where there are some open roads. I mean, it's like the perfect bike for it. I was in my element, man.
Absolutely, it's so much fun. It's just you get to see all the stuff that's going on, and being on a bike, it's so much better than in a car. Right. You see a lot more, you hear a lot more, all that. So it's nice. It's a great thing to cruise on a Harley, I think.
Yeah. I remember passing by a couple of tour buses and I thought, man, they got it all wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, cause one other thing that's, an extra layer of, difference in the Caymans is that you guys drive on the left side of the road.
Yes, we do.
And, it's really interesting because, as a bike guy and just a car guy in general or whatever, you see cars that have left-hand drive, cars that have right-hand drive, some from Japan, some from the UK, from America, from all over the place. And it's just such a mishmash of like international automotive culture.
It is. And then you've got people that, have never drove on the left, and here they are in a right-handed car, right? It's like, those are the best ones because you always know that they're the tourists. Because when they go to hit the turn signal, it's the windshield wiper because it's for reversed, right?
Oh, yeah, because the stalks are reversed, too.
So you see that windshield wiper go on, you're like, tourist.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Yeah, you're not from here. Because that's one of the things about the Caymans is that there is a big kind of tourist, it's a tourist destination, and especially for a lot of cruises, right?
Absolutely. We have the cruise ships that come in basically like 4 to 5 times a week. And then we have the fly-ins that come in, and it's a popular destination for scuba diving, snorkeling, just going to the nice, clean white beach, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it is paradise. I want to ask though, where did you get the idea to do the tours, or did you start the custom shop first and then do tours, or one way or the other? Or how did you kind of get started with all of that?
No, I did the shop first. I started the shop. There was a guy that I know that him and another gentleman from Texas had started the tours.
Okay.
They kind of went about it, I think, wrong. So it didn't last long because they were pretty expensive, actually really expensive. And they were offering an 883 Sportster, right? So most people that come, they want to try a different bike.
Sure.
Most of them don't want to go down to a Sportster. They want to kind of stay with a bigger bike. So, and then they had this thing where the guy was just getting paid a salary. So whether they went out or not, it didn't matter. So he'd be like, we have 6 bikes, but I'm not going out unless there's 4 of them rented. Right. And at $500 a clip, it's like, you know what? You go out with 1 bike, man.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to ride, you go ride.
Yeah.
So they ended up closing down. And then all of a sudden people started coming to the shop or calling the shop saying, hey, are you the guys that do the tours? And I'm like, no, we're not, And at the same time, I had some of the guys that originally were riding with that were getting out of riding for one reason or another, kids, whatever. And they were like, Keith, you know anybody that'd be interested in our bikes? And I'm thinking, you know what? I think I'm going to buy your bikes. And I bought the bikes and I fixed them up and I started the tour, and it's been really well.
Yeah, no, it's how did you kind of, what's the word? Like plan out the route? Like, is that just kind of, they just naturally follow the whole island, or is that just the road you like to ride? Or
I planned it out so that we could see the majority of the stuff to see here, right? Like hell, everybody wants to go to hell. Then out of East End, there's a couple of spots, and then there's Rome Point. So the way that I planned it was just the regular road. But then I found, stopping in Northside for lunch. The food there is really good. It's a good atmosphere. So we stop there and have lunch, and then we run out to Rome Point. And that way, when we're headed back on the East End, we're on the water side, right? So that you can see the ocean the whole time we're riding back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was because it felt like it's really thought out. Like you've got your route, you've got the good roads. Riding on the left side of the road wasn't as hard as I thought it was. I think I only screwed it up mentally once when we were taking a right turn. But other than that, it was fine. And then, but yeah, riding on the left side and being able to be on the water, that was great. So
Yeah, it's good. It's the thing is that like the tours, because you're following, you really can't mess up, right? That's one of the
right.
That's one of the things I tell people. They're like, oh, I've been riding forever. Well, that's fine, but you don't know where you're going. You're driving on the left, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is that the insurance is the big issue in the Caymans. Is I can't do anything with insurance as far as just letting the bike go, right? So you're kind of self-insured either way, but you're really self-insured if I was to let you take the bike. And I like people. I like talking to them. And if I let you take the bike and some drunk comes out of a bar and wants a picture on a Harley and it falls over, and you're calling me the next morning saying, "Hey, the Harley just fell over. It's all messed up." Well, sorry, you're gonna have to pay for that. We're no longer friends, and I don't want that. I just want to be able to do the tour and just hang out.
Yeah, because that's a good point to bring up, is that you lead the tour. So you set the pace, you decide kind of when it's time to go, when it's time to stop, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, you don't have to worry about the speed. You don't have to worry about anything other than just following along and checking out the island. That's what the whole thing is about.
Yeah. What's kind of maybe the best compliment you've got from somebody that you've taken on a tour?
Everybody seems to enjoy the tour. Everybody seems to like it.
Yeah.
The funny part is I get these things where, people are like, "Hey, I keep seeing that you have like a 5-star review on every review you get." And, that's impossible. I'm like, okay, whatever. And we do the tour and they're like, "I'm going to give you 5 stars."
That's almost like you got to come see it for yourself to see if it's the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Deal, so, how do you kind of, because you get people from cruises, you get people from fly-ins. How do you kind of assess somebody's riding skill? Because like you said, you don't meet them until they come to the shop. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things is, when they get to the shop, first thing I do is have them fill out the paperwork. I talk to them a little bit about, what they ride back home and this and that. And you get a feel, like if somebody says, "Hey, I used to ride 10 years ago," I know right away I'm in for a possible problem. So it's like, yeah, we're going to check this out first. But I have everybody go around in an area around the shop that I can watch them and get them comfortable with the bike before we head out on the road, because otherwise it's just taking a chance. So I'd rather do that and have something, if there's going to be a problem, have it right there by the shop and be able to say, no, ain't going to work.
Yeah. So you've probably developed a pretty good sixth sense for reading people and their riding style.
I do. I do.
Without maybe being too specific, can you share any red flags that you've kind of noticed that are kind of happen over and over and over again?
When people via email, to start with, start talking about all their experience and all the things that they've done and how they ride these great bikes and blah, blah, blah. That right there is just a red flag for me. It's
really?
It's when I was in diving, it was the same thing. Oh, I've dove here and I've been there, blah, blah, blah. Those are the people I have my eye on the most.
I imagine, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the people who talk about it the most probably don't have the skills to back it up. And the people
Absolutely.
that are like, yeah, I ride here and there. Or I've got, don't talk about it too much. You never have to worry about them.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned there were some similarities, at least the people or the reading people from scuba and motorcycling. Are there any similarities you think between scuba diving and motorcycle riding?
Oh, absolutely. It's all about sense, right? It's when you get underwater, it's a whole different ball game, and your senses are alive, and you're just having a great time. And same thing on a motorcycle. When you get on a motorcycle, your senses are all opened up. You're looking, you're smelling, you're seeing. It's just fun. Fun. Either one is just fun. They're both, dangerous, but they're fun. As long as you know what you're doing, it's a great time.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you didn't want any risk in your life, then you just stay home on the couch. So
absolutely.
So we talked a little bit before too. Do you go back to the U.S. at all to ride?
I do. I do. I go back at least once a year. Sometimes, depending on how things are going at the shop and all that, I'll go back 3 or 4 times. But I always do one big trip a year for at least 2 weeks.
All in the U.S.?
Yes. Okay. So like you know, we had a great time. There's three of us, four of us, that live down here, and another three from the U.S. in South Carolina, North Carolina, that we all got together. And it was the first time I met quite a few of them and rode with even the guys from here, away from here, right? Here it's just flatlands. And we all did a big trip in Colorado, right? And it was the most amazing time. You know, we spent 12 days. We did 4,200 miles. We went through Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. Then back through Colorado to get back to Denver to fly out. But we did an incredible trip, and it's one of these ones that, you know, we get together all the time, and even just through emails and messages, it's always, hey, remember we did this on this trip? It's just a lifelong fun time. This last year we went and did all of the Blue Ridge Parkway, half of the Skyline Drive, the back of the Dragon, and then went over and did the Bridge Tunnel and then the Outer Banks, and it was a phenomenal trip. And this year, in fact, 3 weeks from now, we're headed to Laconia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard about Laconia. Have you been to there? Is it Laconia
I have
Bike
not.
Week, right?
No, yeah, by the bike week there. This is the 101st. And we wanted to go last year for the 100th, but we couldn't make it happen. So we're going to go this year for the 101st. So it's going to be a great time. And then like next year, we're already planning on going to Sturgis. So for the 85th. So we always have something planned, and, you know, to go and do a big ride. And if, like I said, if I can get out of here for a week or something, we go up and just ride around North Carolina, Tennessee, you know, like the Dragon is one of the big rides we do all the time, and Rattler and all that. So it's a good time.
Is it a big change to jump back to the right side of the road, or?
No, because I follow.
There you go.
I don't lead, I follow.
Yeah, that's smart. You know when to lead and know when to follow.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you're probably more used to being on the left side of the road now that like it's weird to go back to the U.S. and do it that way.
I can't drive. I can't drive in the U.S.
Oh, really?
I can't. If I get in a car, I'm always making the wrong turns, right? When we go into a corner, I'm like getting on the other side. It was funny because I was here for probably a year before I went back to Colorado. And, you know, I had a hot rod that everybody knew. So everybody knew if my car was out, I was there, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And like I was driving around with my mother, and she's like, why do you keep getting on the wrong side of the road? Like, I don't know. And then one night the guys were like, yeah, come on out to the bar. We'll have a good time. And the whole time back, because I'd been drinking, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to be cautious, right? So I'm driving, and I'm like really looking at every stop sign and all that. And I'm getting closer to my house, and all of a sudden here's this semi coming straight at me. The whole time I was on the wrong side of the road.
It's just what your brain's hardwired for.
Absolutely.
After living down there for that long, man. That's so wild.
And it's funny because I go up to the States, and I see friends that come down here a lot, and we get in their car and they're driving on the wrong side of the road. They're like, shit, I'm not in Cayman anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It took me a minute to get reacclimated, but on a bike, it seems like it's easy. Like it is easy to flip back and forth on a motorcycle. Like you're just, again, you're following and you're going, and you know, you have a lot more lateral movement to play with. So.
Yeah. And you're paying attention.
Yeah. So let's go back to the custom scene for a minute here. Is there kind of a big custom Harley scene in the Caymans?
No. No, just, I mean, we've done about 7 bikes for people, right? Mm-hmm. Where they had their bikes and they decided they wanted it completely customized. They wanted something changed up and all that. So we did like 7 bikes so far, but the rest it's mainly just service and repair.
Okay.
That's pretty much the bulk of the business.
Sure. Well, I remember walking in and you guys had probably about half a dozen bikes strewn around. So it seemed like you were pretty busy, had plenty to keep you busy.
Always. The shop's always busy.
Yeah. And it looked like you work on not just Harleys, but there were a couple of Japanese bikes there. And I think somebody had dropped off a street triple while I was there. So
yeah, we work on everything. We even work on scooters. Not my favorite.
There was a ton of those around there.
Yeah.
I'd say that, is there like a scooter scene or anything like that, or no?
No, not really. No, everybody uses those just to go to work.
It's just more for utility. Yeah. You mentioned that well, kind of the bike scene in general is kind of fragmented, and people only want to ride with sport bikes or Harleys or anything like that. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I have no clue. It's like, there's people that won't ride if they see a cloud in the sky, right? And there's others that want to go out like the crack of dawn. It's like, listen, bro, it's my day off. I'm not getting up early on my day off to go for a ride. I'll get up regular time and we'll go out and have a good time, but I'm not going to get up early. And some people like to go out late, right? It's like they want to go out right before dark. And it's like, it's totally weird.
Yeah, it sounds like almost like it's like a microcosm of every different stereotype of motorcyclist you could think of, but it's just because there's only 85,000 people in that area that, there's a handful of each stereotype instead of like finding your group of people or whatever. So
absolutely. I mean, even people that stay on the island, they're like, they come out on the tour and they're like, hey, are there many bikes here? And I'm like, yeah, there's like 375 Harley Davidsons here. They're like, what? We haven't even seen one bike. I'm like, yeah, it's. You have to get up early in the morning and watch them ride to work or go out in the afternoons, on the weekends. And that's pretty much the only time you're going to catch other bikes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because it's paradise and it's a vacation spot for some, but for yourself and a lot of other people, it's how you make your living and you get up and go to work today like anybody else.
Yeah. So. But it's funny, if you remember, when we ride through the tour, when we ride through like Georgetown.
Yeah.
It's almost like the paparazzi. All the cruisers are just taking pictures and video. It's like, oh, look at these cool bikes coming in. I can't believe there's bikes on this island.
Yeah. Yeah. We did get a lot of looks. I remember that because, just to catch everybody up is that 7 Mile Beach is kind of that main western end of the island. And that's where most of kind of the hotels and the big touristy stuff is, right?
That's correct. Then you have downtown Georgetown where the cruise ships come in and they bus them to the 7 Mile Beach area.
Yeah. So talking about going back to trips and stuff a little bit in the US, do you have maybe either, and I would say maybe in Cayman, but it's probably more in the US, like a favorite trip that, is in your head, maybe that Colorado one or?
That Colorado one is probably the biggest one because it was the first time with this group and it was a laugh a minute. We had so much fun and it really put the 8 of us all together. And lifelong friends from not knowing but one guy to having 8 best friends for plenty of years. We did that trip in 2017. So, it's one of these things where we get together all the time. Either they all come down to Cayman and we ride here, or up there we ride together. We do different things,
Yeah. Yeah. Motorcycling, bringing people together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have any maybe motorcycle heroes since that you look up to maybe or looked up to when you started riding?
Not really. I mean, there's a lot of great builders out there. Absolutely. And I think that they're unique in the stuff that they do. But as far as a hero, not really. I think more of the hero is the people that, have overcome something like lost a limb and is still getting on a motorcycle, right? Like there's a one on Facebook with a guy from, was in Iraq that lost both of his legs and he's on a motorcycle with his prosthetic limbs. And it's just like, that's the hero. That really is. Wow. Because I know too many people that, all they have to do is fall over on a bike and they're done. I'm done. I'm never going to ride a bike again. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's a passion that's either in your blood or it's not. And you may think it is until you have an accident or something squirrely happens, a wobble, anything like that. And then all of a sudden it's like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Sure.
Pack up my toys and go home.
Have you encountered anybody like that on a tour where, they maybe made a mistake or did something squirrely and they kind of cut it out from there? Like they were done riding?
Not really done riding because the bike has come back to the shop, right? The show must go on, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've had a couple of people that have just they've had some issues, but we've managed to muddle through it and get it back. So
yeah. So last question, to you, you've been riding for a very long time. You've been doing the custom thing and all that. What makes motorcycling just in general special to you? What makes you have done it for this long?
It's just a feeling I get when I get on the bike. All my senses are all enhanced. It's just like, it's almost like doing a drug, to be honest with you, without any side effects. Right? It's just like you get on there, and especially if you're somewhat of a good rider and you understand how to do everything on a bike and you're safe, it's the greatest experience in the world. You get out there and the tours is the fun thing, right? It's the tour. I do the same route every single time I go out. But every single time I go out, I see something, whether it be a tourist that does something crazy, or I've stopped in the middle of the road and broken up dog fights.
Oh, wow.
It's just all these things that come out when you're riding that you actually see, where you'd be in a car and you wouldn't even pay attention to it, right?
Yeah.
Most people, they get in the car and they're eating a hamburger, they're messing around on their phone, they're listening to the radio, they're doing all this stuff that really, because they're in this cage, it doesn't bother them. But the minute that you're on a bike, you have to pay attention to everything around you. And because of that, it just makes the whole experience so much better. It's just, to me it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part that in the tour that sticks out in my head where we were just cruising down. I think it was coming down back from Run Point. We were on like a highway going like 50, 55 miles an hour.
East End.
And I wasn't even thinking about like riding. It was just enjoying, where we were and being present. And yeah, the best times on a bike, you're not even thinking about like physically riding the motorcycle. You're just taking it all in. And
absolutely. It's almost an out of body experience. You're just on the bike riding and everything is just like around you.
Yeah.
It's the force.
And just ride, like, being able to ride on this nice road, and then there's a beach and, the ocean or the Gulf next to you. And it's just like, you really can't get much better.
No, I can't.
So, last thing, how can folks connect with you? I mean, if anybody that I know is going to the Caymans that has a motorcycle license, I'm sending them your way. So, but how can they get a hold of you?
CaymanCustomCycles.com or CaymanMotorcycletours.com. Either one of those is the easiest way.
Nice. And is there any spot where we can see pictures of the bikes that you've customized?
On Cayman Custom Cycles, I think that there's a few on there. And then there's a Facebook, Cayman Custom Cycles Facebook, and I think there's more on the Facebook page. I'm just not a social media guy. I really am not. I have too much. I don't have time really. There's so much going on, and it's just like when I do the tours, I'll take a picture and I'll do a little blob and pull it on the WhatsApp or the Facebook for Cayman Motorcycle Tours, and that's pretty much as far as I get. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot of good looking bikes, so it'd be cool to share those. So, Well, Keith, thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate it, and hope to see you down in the Caymans again.
Absolutely, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.